Well, hi, everybody. Super excited for this webinar. My name is Matthew Tesdall. I am the owner of Family Time Vacation Rentals. We have properties in Southern Utah, Boise, Idaho, and Central Oregon for the most part. I'm also the current president of the VRNation, and I'm really excited about everybody here. I'm super excited about our co-host, which we'll go into this in a moment. But for you that are new here, VRNation is an organization. We started in the Pacific Northwest in 2010. And since then, we have gone nationwide. Our mission is to really elevate the short-term rental space, that industry, through education, networking, and advocacy with strong supportive community support of property managers. And that's why we host these bi-weekly webinars. And that's what I'm excited about, to have Andrew and Ashley on here with Wheelhouse. I'm currently a Wheelhouse user, as you guys know. So I'm super excited to hear the presentation. I'm going to take notes. So with that, I want to welcome our co-hosts from Wheelhouse, Andrew Kitchell and Ashley Kraft.
Matthew, great to be here. Hello, all. Ashley, are we excited about this?
Super excited about this.
Great. I think this is our first time presenting with VRNation. Honored to be here. What we're going to talk about today, I'm back on slide 1, is bringing a revenue analyst to all folks. So Matthew, this is new functionality. You will want to definitely get those notes out and get questions ready. Matthew, are we ready to begin on the Wheelhouse side? Is there anything else you want to share about VRNation before we dive in?
No, let's get going.
Okay. Lovely all. So today we're going to talk about, I guess the framing I would provide is Wheelhouse. We have been building pricing and revenue management systems for about, 12 years now. And we really love this topic. And we also think that pricing and revenue management are often challenging or often a little bit intimidating topics, right? What we ultimately intend to do is to price your unique assets perfectly for the future. That alone is a challenge. And then when you add in all the complexity of owner preferences and the settings and configurations you can do, we recognize this is a challenge. So what Wheelhouse has been working on for a while is the notion of, could we embed kind of an extra teammate for you, an always-on revenue analyst in your account that helps you with some of the complexity of revenue management and pricing? And that's what we're going to review today. We're going to step through a few slides, and Ashley is going to drive us through a live demo of this. And we do love this to be interactive. So if there are questions that pop up, we'll try to keep an eye on them. And Matthew, you have the green light, obviously, to ask us for any clarifying questions as we go as well. All right.
Perfect.
The goal of this embedded portfolio intelligence or revenue management analyst is to provide more scale, to save you time with Wheelhouse. We're actually a platform where we love you spending less time on us, which might seem ironic, but we know you have a lot to do. Right? We're not a social app. We are a get things done and get back to business. So last month, we began embedding, again, this revenue analyst in your account. And we will welcome your feedback on what you want this revenue analyst to do next. Okay. The first thing the revenue analyst does for you, though, today is something called smart flags, right? Imagine an analyst that's flagging for you any challenges or opportunities that you have. It's doing this every single day, right? This revenue analyst is your 24/7 live account reviewer. And this is not, hey, we think you should change the price. This is looking at your overall listing performance and configuration, etc. What this analyst helps with today is, again, it's every single night reviewing your account. It is designed to help you partially with onboarding. So when you're setting up new listings on Wheelhouse, we want to make sure that you have the settings and configurations set up right as you're or before you're going live, right? So it's going to, all your new properties, if you Matthew, next property you launch with Wheelhouse, we're going to make sure it's set up before you're live, right?
I love that.
If you then also say you have a few settings. So for example, in Wheelhouse, it's very easy to build a last minute discounting schedule, right? Maybe where you decrease prices as stay dates approach. You can also build an occupancy pacing table in Wheelhouse. Over time, those two settings might kind of amplify each other. So maybe you have low occupancy and a last minute discount, and it pulls that price recommendation into a place where we really disagree with that. We are going to flag that for you, right? So of course, occupancy pacing, we're looking at your current performance. If you got a new booking, your occupancy changed. So that's why every single night we're analyzing whether settings conflicts have emerged.
Can I ask a question?
Fire away.
So Ashley, you're very familiar with our account. You work with my staff, weekly, bi-weekly on this kind of stuff. How does this process differ from, let's say, when we first onboarded with with Wheelhouse over a year ago? What did we, and then changes? And anyone can ask that, but I mean, I thought Ashley might know.
Yeah. So this is actually just an extra layer on top of what we're already looking at. So within Wheelhouse, we'll kind of talk about it today. Of course, we have filtering, we have segments, and I know a lot of Wheelhouse users segment by low performing properties or fast pacing properties. That way they can find those outliers quickly. This is just an extra feature that even dives a little bit deeper into evaluating and finding what those issues are. So like Andrew mentioned, we call it the last minute doubling, where you may have a occupancy pacing table happening that's dropping rate due to high availability and low occupancy, but you may also have really aggressive last minute discounts. And like he mentioned, it could be dropping that rate into an area that you're not comfortable with. This is going to highlight those and flag them and basically identify more of a customization or configuration issue rather than an actual performance issue per se.
Right. So Matthew, did you enjoy your onboarding with Ashley?
Yes.
Great. What if you could have Ashley forever embedded in your account, helping you point out issues?
Love it.
That's what we're trying to deliver.
Perfect. I like that. And this works regardless of whatever PMS you're on.
That's right. Yeah, this is in Wheelhouse and it's really easy to activate. There's nothing you're going to have to do. Ashley's going to show you how you can add this column to your display, to your view on Wheelhouse, how you can leverage filters with it, you can build segments with it. It's almost like a new data piece you can use within Wheelhouse that's all automated.
Perfect.
Right. My favorite part about it again is it's kind of like, look, we're gonna again pop up opportunities and risks for you every single night, because your portfolio is dynamic. You're getting new bookings every single day. Conditions are changing, and you can see onboarding and settings conflicts we discussed. The third thing we're gonna flag for you is our performance opportunities or challenges. So we're gonna be looking at your pacing year over year. We're going to be looking at occupancy pacing and revenue pacing. So now what you have to imagine is, again, why we do this every single night for our customers is we're looking at a different booking window every single night, right? Your booking window is shifting. So we want to make sure your pacing, we're always up to date on that. Now, how can you use this? It really is designed for visibility. So, we want you to see and know about issues. It can be used for training teammates or training yourself how to better use a system like Wheelhouse. We recognize onboarding should honestly never stop. There's a lot to learn about a fast evolving platform, and it should give you a lot more scale because it's going to draw your attention to the most important things to address today or this week, right? We know everyone doesn't log into Wheelhouse every day, and that's a good thing. So how these work, this will be a little bit redundant, but just to double click automatic detection, there's nothing you need to do. However, we'll see there's a bunch of different flags that are pre-configured on Wheelhouse. And one thing we'd love for you to think about as Ashley does the demo today is what else would be helpful if your revenue analyst was doing for you. This is an actively developing product, right? The contextual insight. So there will be a flag. When we hover over the flag, you'll be able to see an explanation. We have a Help Center article that also details all the different things that you need to know about particular flags. And, imagine no more manual audits. You don't need to scroll through 500 days or every single listing all the time. You can create filters to easily get to, hey, I want to see the 20 properties that aren't pacing well right now. I want to see the 3 properties that have some setting conflict. Whatever you want to see, we're going to make it easier for you to view. And confidence at scale is, again, look, if you have 100 properties, Wheelhouse enables you to price 500 days in the future. Therefore, you'd theoretically have to look through a lot of information to see if and where we disagree with you on prices. That's the old way. The new way is we're flagging opportunities and challenges for you at the listing level. It's a really big acceleration of how teams can use Wheelhouse. We do think this will help you whether you're an experienced revenue manager. Now you have a great analyst for you. You can build workflows around this. If you're a property manager and maybe you're less familiar with your system, this will alert you more quickly to the things you need to pay attention to. So if you're not a full-time revenue manager, you'll still be able to use our system faster. And if you're brand new to the game, this is again going to highlight essentially what are the most important things. So why do we think this is cool? I think it's interesting because it's step one, right? Wheelhouse is really, really interested in how you make, I would say the 2 main things are we want to turn revenue management into your growth function. That's part 1. And part 2 is we want to make revenue management ultra scalable. And to do that, it's not just about giving you better designs or better data science. It's about helping you really drawing your attention to the most important things. So we do think this is step 1 in a new paradigm where revenue management becomes less about management and more about revenue. All right, Ashley, let's share some real live examples of smart flags. Any questions, Matthew, before we dive in?
No, I think this is exciting. So I'm really excited to see this presentation and how this works so I can make some notes.
All right. So let's dive in. If you are a Wheelhouse user, you're very familiar with the platform, I'm sure. We do have portfolio settings and portfolio calendar where we have columns that kind of follow you. To simply add flags, all you have to do is go into your column settings. It is the icon that looks like a little sheet of notebook paper or columns, and you can simply scroll down under listing status and select flags here and turn it on. It will populate here for you. So you can actually see that flags do show in red. These are all, obviously we want them to grab your attention, but these are things that we want you to focus on while looking at these listings in particular. So now that you know how to add it to your account, what can you do with flags? So of course, within Wheelhouse, you can filter and segment, just like Andrew had mentioned previously. So you can simply filter by a flag. If you go under listing status in Wheelhouse, you can actually select flag, and they are listed all here for you. All of the current flags that we have right now are populated here. We will go into that in just a second. You can also add these or build them out as a segment. So for instance, I'm happy to build out a quick segment with you right now. If I want to flag maybe something with high availability, so I'll click high availability here. And then I want to search for something that maybe hasn't had a booking in several days. So we'll select days since last booking. I'm going to do something crazy, like 30 days to a really high number, 9,999. So I can see that these two properties mentioned here have high availability, which is actually over the next 60 days. They have not had a booking in a month plus. And then maybe I even want to filter again and look at what about future metrics? What do these properties have for occupancy, maybe over the next 30, 60, or 90 days? I'm going to just choose 30, and I'm going to say maybe 0 to 20% occupancy. You can see that they still populate here. So this is showing me obviously a red flag for a listing, a problem listing as I call it. They have really low occupancy for the next 30 days, 0 to 20%. They have not had a booking in over a month. And my flag is telling me that they have very high availability, as well as other things that we will discuss shortly. But I can simply go in here and save these stacked filters as a segment. So I can save it as maybe problem listings or high availability listings to then, once I'm logged into Wheelhouse again, maybe in the future, like next week or in a few days, I can simply click on that segment and see what listings are now populating into these filters or into these flags. Any questions on that? So a lot of things that you can do with them.
Ashley, I've got a favor. Could we go ahead and build a segment live?
Yeah.
And then let's talk a little bit more about why is this segment a better than filters? We'll just pull that apart a little bit more.
Yeah, so I'm going to do that same segment I
Mhm.
just built out, flag it. I'm going to choose, once again, I'm just choosing high availability just for time's sake. And then I will also filter by future metrics, adjusted occupancy. Let's look at the next 60 days. I'm going to put 0 to 20. And then I am going to click Save Segment. I am going to label this problem listings, maybe low plus high availability plus last booked. So that way I know kind of what's going on, and I'm going to save it. So as you can see, my segment lives here. So when you are in Wheelhouse, especially if you're in it weekly and you're looking at revenue management, you may filter by these things every single week, but obviously it did not take me long, but I'm in the system every day. However, if you're in it weekly, are not very familiar with the system and still learning, building out these filters and getting comfortable to what you want and stacking those filters can take time every single time you're in here. If you create the segment, which is literally just saving my stacked filters of what I had just created, I can simply log into Wheelhouse. I can select that filter, so my problem listings, and it is going to populate all of the listings that fall within those filters. So for instance, if you noticed, one of the filters I had put on here is days since last booked is over 30 days. Well, if Canyon Perch gets a booking this week, it will actually fall out of this segment because it no longer applies or falls into all three of the filters that I have applied to the segment. So this is a really quick way for revenue managers, for property managers to find those outliers and to constantly be able to see where they are and to make those adjustments right off the bat to get those properties back in line.
Great. And let's talk about that, Ashley. So you've got these two properties.
Yes.
They meet this criteria that you want to, say it's Monday morning, you come in here, you wanted to see your problem listings first. Now, what do I do?
You would dive in. So we have these problem listings. Obviously, if they have really low occupancy for the next 60 days, they have really high availability, and they haven't had a booking in over 30 days, obviously my flags, I can see there's more issues here as well. I can take a look at my flags to determine, okay, is it maybe a performance issue? Is it maybe a configuration issue? I can see here there's a high FAR future. It has high availability. Are my future rates maybe too high based on what we're seeing in the market? Is that where I need to go in and adjust my FAR future? I'm also seeing last minute doubling, which we had talked about earlier. So occupancy pacing may be doubled up with a discount with last minute discounts. So maybe I need to take a look at that and see what's going on. We can see that there's a minimum rate conflict. So this minimum rate set for this property, and it could be an owner min rate. Obviously, property managers have that issue too, where owners want a higher minimum rate than maybe what's feasible for the market. But a min rate conflict is where the minimum price is higher than the base price. So maybe that is just a red flag for me to go to the owner and say, hey, this is what we're seeing. Is there any wiggle room on that minimum price? So you can see all of these different flags for this property. You can then log into this property, which I have it populated right here, and you could make those adjustments as you see fit to then try to get those flags removed and this property performing better.
If you had properties that were seasonal and where it's normal that they're going to have, low occupancy and that kind of stuff, would you create a different segment for them so that, it, like, this is a really big deal. If you got properties that you're in your peak season and you're getting these kind of issues, then this needs to be addressed right away, right? But if
Absolutely.
it's a seasonal property where you just don't have any bookings over the winter, except for maybe holidays, would you do a different segment, or is there a better strategy for that?
You could either do a different segment or you could simply tag that property as seasonal. And maybe because Wheelhouse also has tags, which are keywords or groupings that make sense to you in your portfolio. And you would be able to include those in your filters or in a new segment as well. And you would be able to pull those out and say low season, maybe your tag is low season, November through February. And so that way you automatically know, hey, we're not really anticipating us to get a lot of bookings right now. So maybe stagnation is okay at this point because we are in low season.
You could also use that pacing. So year over year pacing and year over year revenue. We'll look at your booking window last year. So say you were in a low season last year and you're in a low season this year. It's going to really compare those two time periods year over year more explicitly. So Matthew, that would be a flag that would get more at that. You'd probably be hearing if there was actually not just a seasonal dip, but really a listing specific dip in that case.
Yeah, and I think that kind of view is really important. We're doing that internally, looking at properties and say, what if it's, way down over last year, what the heck's going on? And so that's
Right.
where this comes in. And say, okay, we need to move some levers, pull some levers on this. And Ashley knows because she's involved with our account. And that's what my staff is working on. So I love that part.
Yes. And on that too, I actually pulled this one for an example for year over year revenue and occupancy pacing, simply because you can see the adjusted occupancy is pacing more than 20% behind versus same time last year for the next 60. Same with revenue. When we actually go into this listing, you may see why. Right off the bat, I noticed it, but obviously I'm in this every day. You may not have noticed it. But if you actually take a look at this chart, we have a lot of last year bookings. This was over Thanksgiving last year, obviously over Christmas and New Year. And if you notice that this year, they're blocked. So where we saw those bookings come in for this property last year over those holidays, we're seeing those main nights blocked and not able to be booked, which then obviously is going to set your revenue and occupancy back quite a bit if those were the times during your low season where you anticipated bookings.
So block, this could be an owner stay.
Owner stay,
block.
maintenance block.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay, just clarifying.
Yep. So that's obviously we flagged it to take a look at, and we immediately saw the issue, which could be if you have the homeowner come back, in late January and say, man, I didn't get the amount of money over November and December that I did last year or in 2024. What happened? Well, you can see, well, you had block nights over the holidays. That's when your bookings took place in 2024. Having those unbookable for 2025 really hurt your revenue. Any other questions on this? Very quick.
That was helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So I kind of went over some of the flags. We have 3 different types of flags. So we have configuration flags, we have best practices, and then we have performance monitoring. I showed you how to filter and how to segment, but essentially I definitely want to dive into a few of them. I'd want to start with like a new listing flag. So what does that actually look like? So if I go to my tag, go to my demo, because I have several properties in here, and I want to filter once again by flag. And I actually want to take a look at new listings. New listings are going to be listings that are basically in Wheelhouse for less than 90 days or live for less than 90 days. So these are brand new. Most of them will have high availability flag with it or stagnation. But this is a great example. This Wildcat Canyon is a great example of how these flags can help you when configuring a new listing. This one automatically tells me, hey, there is not a minimum set for this property. So this is when I automatically know I need to go in here. Maybe it's a discussion I need to have with the homeowner of what are you comfortable with for your minimum price or your floor rate, and where I can input it as my global minimum price. So this is just really good flags for new properties coming into your portfolio and ensuring that you have a great audit before you ever turn things live. So that way things are not falling through the cracks prior to your first booking, and then you get a booking for a really low rate because there's not a minimum and the owner is immediately angry. So this is a very helpful way to help those that are bringing properties onto Wheelhouse. Any questions on those? All right. Another really good one that I like to look at, and we've kind of talked about it already, is the high availability. So high availability flag is showing what has more than 75% availability in the next 60 days. Why is this important? It's not always that this property just isn't booking. It could be the fact that it's a new listing, or it could be the fact that maybe you need to offer better last minute discounts. Maybe there's a flag about a minimum rate conflict, hence Coyote Moon right here. Stagnation, it hasn't had a booking in over 30 days. Is that happening for a property that's not a new listing? Maybe that's where I need to go in, really evaluate my configurations and my rates and get that availability moving and get that occupancy in there.
Ashley, let's do that right now. Let's toggle over the calendar,
Okay,
portfolio calendar.
got it.
And we've got these properties that in the next 60 days, we want to try to drive a few bookings. What would we do?
Few things. You can obviously, you can see on some of these, there's already a discount in place. This is by taking a look at maybe what they booked at last year. Are we pushing a rate too high and we need to lower? Looking at our performance year over year, looking at ADR. Did I try to increase my ADR year over year? And maybe I pushed the rate too high and it's hurt me in the long run. Maybe I need to get it back down to what the market is seeing or what my property has done in the past. And so you can simply hover over certain dates. Maybe you want to do it through the end of November. You can simply choose today through the end of November, apply those dates, put in a discount here. As you can see, there's negative 25% already in place, but maybe I want to make it negative 30. I can click Save Changes, and it is going to decrease my rate that 30% completely across the board. One thing with Wheelhouse is on this calendar view, we have little codes, little hidden gems, I call them, that kind of tell you hints about what we're hitting already. So you see this one little asterisk next to this 515 number. That simply means that that's the minimum for that property. We're already hitting the minimum rate. So we are not going to drop below that minimum, even with this discount applied. If it has two asterisks, that just means we are hitting the maximum price. And so we will not go over that rate as well. We also have, it looks like a little brick wall icon on here as well. And it will basically tell you are hitting what we call an absolute minimum, which is the very floor rate that you could go even with manual adjustment. So we would probably give you an error if you ever try to go below that and override a minimum. So you could simply make changes here directly in the calendar. You can also do it in bulk. It does not have to be one property at a time. You could select all 5 and make the same adjustment here, maybe just negative 30% across the board for those same dates. Another cool thing with Wheelhouse that you can do is maybe I want that negative 30% from now through November 30th, but maybe I actually want it on certain days of the week. So maybe I want it Sunday through Wednesday at 30%, but then my Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe I only want it 10%. I can set that up here and make that adjustment to aim for better bookings and to try to get bookings. I can also set an expiration date for those discounts. So I can say, great, maybe I want this 30% or 10% on the weekends to fall off on November 16th on Sunday, and save that, and it will simply roll off and go back to the rate that Wheelhouse recommends moving forward. But as you can see, the flags did follow me to the calendar view because I have them saved in my column view in Wheelhouse. So they do follow me here, and I'm able to make immediate adjustments on the calendar. One other flag that I really want to talk about, and I'm sure a lot of property managers will absolutely love this one, is a minimum rate conflict. I love this one because it absolutely solves or tells you a lot of things that a lot of property managers already know. But this could be where your minimum price, once again, is higher than your base price. And if you were to go into a listing and see that, you could see, obviously this min price is set at 326. My base price is only set to 275. And I have a lot of what I call flat pricing across my calendar, where it's just one flat rate. And if you notice, Wheelhouse and the data recommends that my rates kind of fall during that time period and fall below what my minimum is currently set for. And another thing I noticed is this property in the past year had a lot of bookings come in below the current minimum price. So this is a great example, and it was flagged for me, of maybe this is when I need to go to the proper or to the homeowner and state, you may have a minimum that is too high. Here is the data. We can show you where the rates are recommended to be. You had bookings come in last year for lower than this minimum. If you would like to obtain similar revenue as to last year, or obtain more bookings during your low season and really push that occupancy for revenue, we really recommend dropping your minimum maybe to what you had last year, or maybe to where it's just no longer a flat rate. So this is a great way to identify those minimum rates as well. Another option that is really cool is high far future. And this one is great because a lot of people love to really push that increase for premium bookings. So for further out, things like that, I see a lot of people push, 20, 25%, things like that. When you have a high far future, it means your far future is set to more than 20% increase further out. So this is beneficial because if you have a high far future, but then you have high availability and you maybe have stagnation, that could automatically trigger the fact that, oh, maybe my rates are too high far out. Or maybe a high far future, if you're working on your lead times, you don't want them to be so last minute, as we've all kind of seen this past year. We want better lead times. High far future could trigger and let you know that, oh, hey, I have really high far future premiums. Maybe I need to lower those and then implement that strategy to get a better lead time because I'm priced in a better area and a more realistic expectation of where I expect to be already. So high far future is a really cool flag as well. It's, to me, one of the most important. We've already discussed last minute doubling. And then one other one that I love to talk about is base price high historical impact. So what this means, and I think this one is probably the most unique, this is where your previous bookings and your previous pricing strategies are lowering the data-driven recommended base price. So in the interim, and how to solve this issue is in the interim to set a custom base price that is closer to your current pricing strategy, gain those historicals, and then progress from there. So maybe you've had a really big pricing strategy change over the past year. You've totally switched how you're going to operate, maybe push a little bit higher ADR. You're okay with taking a little less occupancy in the interim instead of really pushing occupancy with low rates and then getting revenue that way. So if you've had a pricing switch or a pricing strategy switch, I should say, base price high historical impact is a really important one. So this is a great example. This property has had several lower ADR bookings in the past year, actually below their current minimum. So if I go in here and I look at last year's bookings, you can see there are some little green dotted lines down here in their minimums and in the recommended pricing from Wheelhouse. So even in July, I can see that there is a booking that fell below their current min during that time, as well as all through January, February, March, a few in June, and even one in October. So this is impacting that base price because it's stating you received lower ADR bookings based on this being a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house. We're used to maybe having a bit higher base price here, especially if it sleeps 10, is a single family home. So maybe we're used to having a bit higher base price, but because this property in the past, their strategy has been to really go after a lower rate, get the occupancy to gain revenue, it is impacting what we recommend that base price should be. Any questions on this feature?
Maybe what I'd share here, Ashley, is that you can have a rule base, so you can come in and set any base price you want in our system. We always have, for every of the major pricing engine settings, we have data-driven configurations. So in this case, we're looking at a recommended base price. Ashley, can you scroll down to the bottom of this page here?
Yep.
And you'll see all of those bookings, the last observed bookings are pulling down our recommendation for the property. All right, we trust that your booking history is indicative of what you want to do. However, maybe because you offered a last minute discount, maybe because of you have a lot of snowbird rates, that we're pulling your base price down lower than you'd like. This just gives you full transparency to what we're seeing and what we would do and allows you to control it. So you might come in and say, well, Wheelhouse let me know that my base price is being pulled up or down by prior booking history a lot. This might be a candidate for a property you switch over to a rule-based base price to fine tune this strategy, right? A system like Wheelhouse is always trying to use your past bookings, future bookings for your property, future bookings in your market to make our best guesses. And your job is obviously to come in and fine tune us where we might not be getting your strategy right. So we really try to make that clear through flags and display of data, etc. Matthew, did you know about flags before this?
Do I know about flags?
Had you heard about it before?
Oh yeah.
Have you used one yet?
Okay, so don't, Ashley's gonna start laughing. I'm not the one in there doing the pulling the levers. It's mostly my staff that
Got
does
it.
it. But I do remember Ashley, going over that pretty thoroughly when we first onboarded.
Well, I have a question for you, Matthew. Can I keep putting you on the spot a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
If you were to think of a flag that would be really valuable for you, something that you'd like to know about your portfolio today, what would it be?
Well, going back to when we looked at year over year revenue by property, that would be a flag that I would like to have to say, okay, this, and you could set your thresholds, 10% below, 20% below, or vice versa. It's performing better than last year. I think that'd be a really great flag for me as the owner of the business. I'd like to be able to hit one button or two buttons and see what that is so that I could go back to my revenue manager and to Ashley in this case and say, hey, we need to focus on these, or these are performing really well. Why is that?
Yep. Yep. Cool. Love it.
What else you
Audience.
got? What else you got for me?
Well, I love talking to you, but I also want to, if anyone who's joined us today has another, and actually, Matthew, let me answer that first. So what you specifically want there, actually, can we go back to I think you're sharing your screen still.
Yep.
Let's go back to flags. So you're looking at flags V1, Matthew, right? For example, when we are looking at year-over-year occupancy pacing and revenue pacing, we are setting that, when is that flag triggered?
Okay.
To your point, shouldn't flags be configurable? Maybe if it's only 10% off, you don't want to see it, but if it's 20% or 30%. So we think that's a really good next step here. Ashley, can we click into the dashboard too? So right now we show you these flags. You got to come into your portfolio view. You see your tags. Well, we want to fire flags. Sorry, we want to fire these flags right here in your notifications. So when you log into your account, we want you to know, Matthew, you have 3 new properties that have a year-over-year pacing flag. Click right through to that view. Obviously, we want to create more better flags for folks. We think another interesting direction is like, Matthew, if you saw that a listing was 20% off of last year's pacing, well, maybe you just want us to automatically do something for you. So could a flag lead to an automated workflow where you say, hey, if there's ever 20% off pacing, just go ahead and drop the next 60 days 10% and see if we actually pick up pacing, right? So can we allow you to build workflows off of flags? So we really are at stage 1 of how could an embedded revenue analyst flag the right things for you? How can we make that configurable for you? How can we take the action that you want? And maybe just to let you know, Matthew, we updated those 3 properties for you based on what you want us to do. So they're really a new kind of, again, we call it a new paradigm of how could you have embedded analyst take care of problems before you need to kind of go find them.
Yeah, I like that.
So great idea. We'll race that out the door. Flags will be one of our biggest investment areas in 2026 because we think there's so much room to continue to drive efficiency for you all. Booking window would be great. Shannon, tell us more about would that be so the pacing, the occupancy pacing and the revenue pacing are looking at that booking window. Is there tell us a little more if you can via chat. And Ruben, let's see, one flag I'd like to have to use for new bookings. Am I meeting market booking window or am I meeting last year portfolio booking window? All right, a little bit of that. Ruben, is that for new listings or for new bookings? I guess you want to know at kind of a booking level, if you just got a booking in, is it kind of a good booking or a bad booking? Is that kind of how you're thinking about it? That's cool. Right. So could we tell you not only the performance, but at a booking level, we've looked at that in the past of scoring bookings. In some ways a far future booking is great, but if you got a last minute booking at a high ADR, there's kind of nothing better. Thanks, Shannon. Okay. Hey, email us. We're Ashley at usewheelhouse.com. I'm Andrew at usewheelhouse.com. We'd love to keep unpacking that with you all. We can put our,
I think this is what's great about these opportunities when we get a chance to get together like this, that we can get real-time answer or, questions and answers to us, VRNation, PMs, you as Wheelhouse, and really hear from what people want and what they're seeing and say, okay, what can we do? How can we take care of this? So thanks for being transparent. Thanks for allowing the emails and that back and forth. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun things. I mean, when we mentioned at the start of the presentation, you can use these flags for trainings. If you have a revenue manager on your team and they have multiple teammates, you can look at flags by teammate, right? So it's really easy to see, oh, all of Matthew's properties that he's managing are, having pacing issues, but Ashley's are not. Just an example. So you can split this out by teammates and use it for training. You can make sure that if you have an onboarding team, you can have an onboarding view, right? Just make sure all your listings that are new are configured properly. So there's kind of a lot of dimensions that you can take this in. It's meant to be pretty kind of a techie term is extensible, but flexible, dynamic. It's meant to really be built around your needs. And we launched this maybe 8 weeks ago or so. We had a couple ideas that came in for folks immediately. So the base price, high historical impact, that was suggested and it was out the door the next week. So if you have an idea and you can detail it with us and for us, we would love to build it for you. Now, we've probably taken too much of your time. Let's go to final Q&A and then we can set folks free.
So let's see, any questions? We had quite a bit during the webinar, which is fantastic. I love that. Let's
Thank
see
you
if
all.
there's
Yeah.
anybody.
Thank you guys for asking everything. We
Yeah.
love the questions and the feedback because like Andrew said, we really do take these to heart as a team. And this is something that Andrew and I can both take back to our team and say, how can we make V2 even better?
Yeah. We should make a VRNation flag.
Any last minute questions? I'm looking at the chat window. I know we all are. See anything? Any last minute questions or comments that you want to make, Andrew or Ashley?
Ashley, anything else you want to share?
No, just thanks for having me today. I love the interaction. It was a lot of fun. Is it possible to have flags using client goals? Ruben,
Ooh, I love this. Can I share on this?
go for it.
All right. So Wheelhouse has two major products that are about to hit. One is a reporting thing, basically a reporting, very flexible reporting protocol where you can more easily communicate with owners. A second is the ability to track projections and budgets in Wheelhouse and understand performance relative to what you expected at the start of the year, which I usually translate, Ruben, as clients' goals. Right. So if the client's expecting to make $80,000 or $50,000, we can our tool will allow you to input that and then track performance relative to those expectations. So first you'll have a filter view of it, right? It'll be easy for you to filter to just show me the properties where I'm 10% off of client expectations, 20% off, etc. Right. But then we will have a flag, right? We don't expect you to come build all these filters. We expect to have our system kind of alert them for you. So yeah, that's a great question. Expect to be able to leverage that in January 2026, and good call.
And you
That
just
was almost like
made
a
it.
planted question.
Yeah, you just made Andrew's day asking that. I just want to let you know.
That's great.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun things coming. And reporting, of course, can be tied to flags too. So there's probably a certain report you want if a flag fires, and that might be an internal report or an owner report. So keep the ideas coming. All right, all. Thank you for making time. I know every day of yours is busy, especially midweek. And we introduce non-trivial subjects whenever we talk about pricing and revenue management. It can be hard stuff. So our goal is to make this easy and fun and accessible and safe for everyone. And we really appreciate your time and feedback and ideas of how we can do that.
Thanks, Ashley. Thanks, Andrew, for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you,
Likewise.
Matt.
Thanks, Matthew.
Thanks,
Appreciate you.
VRNation.